Well, hey everybody, I'm Jack, and this is Raw Tropical Living. Thanks for joining me today. Hope everybody's having a wonderful weekend out there. It's a gorgeous fall day here in South Alabama. Woke up to 42 this morning, and man, I can't tell you how good the sleeping was last night. So I'm going to basically do a video, and I'm going to watch college football today, really get into the season of fall. Today I want to talk about the power of contentment. Guys, I do videos every day, so if you haven't already done it, I'd appreciate if you go down there and hit that subscribe button now. Then be sure you click on the little bell and check send notifications to stay subscribed to the channel. Found a little reading I wanted to share with you today. Just found it online looking around, and it's called The Incredible Power of Contentment, and it's by a gentleman named Leo Babauta. I'll try my best to remember to link, but you know how senile I am. The Incredible Power of Contentment. If you have a garden and a library, you have everything you need. Cicero. While many readers have noted my efforts and articles on self-improvement, what I haven't stressed as much is the beauty of becoming content with what you have and who you already are. I'm definitely a goal-oriented person. I always have my eye on a goal, whether that's writing a book, running a marathon, improving my blog, waking early, losing weight, or one of a dozen other goals I've had and usually achieved in the last couple of years. And once I've achieved a goal, I begin looking for another. Now that I finished my second marathon, I'm already looking for a third. So isn't that a contradiction? Doesn't that seem to indicate that I'm not content with my life? Not at all. I'm extremely content with my life, with what I have, and with who I am. I've accepted that I am the type of person who will always be striving for a goal, the type of person who enjoys a challenge, who enjoys the journey. It's not the goal that matters to me, it's the journey to get there that is so fun. And I'm content with being that type of person. So contentment isn't a matter of being content with your situation in life and never trying to improve it. It's a matter of being content with what you have, but realizing that as humans, we will always try to improve, no matter how happy we are. If we don't, we have given up on life. Today, I'd like to discuss contentment and the amazing things it can do in all aspects of our life. And then we'll look at a few tips for getting to contentment. Happiness is self-contentedness, Aristotle. My life. I'm going to use my life as an example here only because I'm more intimately familiar with it than any other life. Looking back, I wasn't always content. There have been times in my life when I wasn't happy, when things seemed dismal, when I wish I had more. I wasn't content with the way things were, and now I know that my outlook on life was a major contributor to my unhappiness. We choose whether we are happy or unhappy. Read that sentence again if it's not already something you consciously practice in your daily life. We choose whether we are happy or unhappy. If you're unhappy with your life right now, I will venture to guess that it's because you've chosen to be unhappy. That sounds harsh, but in my experience, it's completely true. Edit based on reader comments. I cannot speak to whether this concept of happiness applies to everyone, especially clinically depressed or those with similar disorders, people who are starving or homeless, people who have undergone massive tragedies or abuse, or others in such circumstances. However, for most readers, I believe the principles will apply. You might say, but my life is crap. Of course I'm going to be unhappy. And I hear you. I've had those times when my job wasn't going well, when my relationships weren't going well, when my finances were very bad, when I was overweight, when my life was a mess. But listen to this. I've had those conditions at several points in my life, and sometimes I was unhappy in those kinds of conditions, and others I was happy and content. So I've come to the conclusion, and it's proven true time and again, that it's not the conditions that make me happy, unhappy, but my choice of thoughts, of attitude, of behavior. What behaviors and thoughts and attitudes were different between my times of unhappiness and happiness? When I was unhappy, I focused on all the bad things in my life. Not only that, but I continuously thought how bad they were and would complain and ask, why me? I would let myself sink into inaction and eventually depression. I would be the grumpy and cause those around me to be unhappy. That, in turn, only made the situation worse. It certainly didn't help my job. Let's look at the times of happiness in contrast. I focused on the good things in my life because while I had problems at my job and with my relationships and with my finances and health and all that, there were still good things. At least I had a job. At least I had someone who loved me. At least I wasn't sick. At least I wasn't bankrupt and homeless. I counted instead my blessings. I do this when things aren't looking so good and it turns me around. I had a wife and beautiful children. I had the power to change my job, to simplify my life, to get out of debt. I had my health, even if I was overweight. I lived on a beautiful island with gorgeous beaches and wildlife and greenery. I had family around who loved me. I had the power of my words and my books that I loved reading. I had life. And this outlook on life helped me to be happier. It improved my relationship because I tried to appreciate my wife. It improved everything around me, in short. And we'll take a closer look at these things next. I was happy despite my conditions because I chose to be happy. I found contentment in what I already had instead of wishing I had something else, instead of being discontented with what I had. Contentment not only made me happy, but it transformed my life in many ways. Here's how. Happiness. This is perhaps the most obvious area affected on this list because many people see contentedness and happiness as one and the same. In many ways they are, but it's really a matter of focus. When you're happy, it's really a state of being influenced by a number of factors, including contentedness. Contentedness, on the other hand, is a matter of being satisfied with what you have. It focuses on what you have and don't have instead of just being a state of being. It influences happiness. However, you can choose to be content just as you can choose to be happy. And if you choose to be content, you will be happy. There are many ways to become happy. You can become happy by doing certain things, running, getting into the flow, sex. You can become happy because you're loved or in love. You can become happy because you just won a competition or $1 million. Being content is just one way to be happy, but it's a great way. Simplicity. Simplicity, of course, means many things to many people. But for me, contentedness is at the core of simplicity. It's about being content with less, with a simpler life, rather than always wanting more, always acquiring more, and never being content. Simplicity means examining why you want more and solving that issue at its root. At the root of wanting more is not being content with what you have. Once you've learned to be content, you don't need more. You can stop acquiring and start enjoying. Now, I won't claim to never want stuff. I want a MacBook Air and I got it. It's helping me to write this post and this book right now. However, in my defense, I waited more than a month before buying it to make sure I needed it. But while I am not immune to wants, I have learned to catch myself now and then and to examine why I want something. And then I try to tell myself that I already have everything I could possibly want and need, and that contentedness leads to simplicity. Finances. This is the same as simplicity, but I wanted to show it from a financial angle. The reason we get into financial trouble oftentimes is that we buy more than we can afford. And the root of that buying is buying things we want instead of only things we need. And the root of that is not being content with what we already have. Finding contentment with the stuff you have and with a simpler life can lead to buying less, to buying things we need instead of want, and to only spending what we can afford. I know this firsthand, as uncontrolled spending led to debt for me, and contentedness led to me getting out of debt. Relationships. Many times it seems that we're never satisfied with our significant others. They don't behave how we want them to. That's often at the root of relationship problems, as many-headed as these problems may seem. Instead, learn to be content with the person you love, just as they are. This isn't always easy, as we are usually trained or by our well-intentioned but never satisfied parents and others around us to do just the opposite, to try to change people. However, you will only find trouble if you try to change your significant other. You might get them to change their behavior, but most often not, but they will be unhappy and in turn the relationship will suffer. I will admit to having a problem with this at times, but when this happens, I try to remind myself to love my partner as she is, for who she is. She is a beautiful person, just as she is now, and there is absolutely no need for me to change her. Jobs. Should we be content with our jobs? Well, I won't say that you should stick with a dead-end job and a boss that treats you like dirt. If you're unhappy with your job, change it. That's been my approach and it's worked for me. However, I've learned that being a content person in other areas of my life and being content with my life in general has already helped me at my job. Discontented people tend to be complainers or grumpy or negative. That leads to problems at the job. People who are content tend not to complain and tend to have more a positive attitude. And in my experience, that almost always leads to more opportunity, both within the job, promotions, new projects, and outside the job offers, networking, etc. So, getting to contentment. So if contentedness is so great, how do you get there? That's not always easy, but here are some things that have worked for me. Count your blessings. I mentioned this above and in a previous post, but for me it's the best way to get to contentment. When you find yourself unhappy with something or with what you don't have, take a moment to count all the good things in your life. And I would bet there are many. It puts the focus on what you do have rather than what you don't. Stop and remind yourself. When you find yourself unhappy with someone or trying to change them, stop yourself. Take a deep breath and remind yourself that you should try to be happy with that person for who he or she is. Take a moment to think about the good things about that person, the reasons you love that person. Then accept their faults as part of their entire package. Stop and consider why you want something. When you feel the urge to buy something, think about whether it's a need or a want. If it's a want, take a pause. It's good to wait 30 days. Keep a 30-day list. When you want something, put it on the list with the date. And if you still want it in 30 days, you can buy it. Consider why you want something. Are you not content with what you already have? Why not? Take time to appreciate your life. I like to reflect on my life and all the good things in it on a regular basis. I do this when I run, or when I watch the sunset or sunrise, or when I'm out in nature. Another great method is a morning gratitude session. Think of all the things and people you're thankful for and thank them silently. Show people you appreciate them. It's good to appreciate people, but it's even better to show them. Give them a hug, smile, spend some time with them. Thank them out loud. Thank them publicly. Once again, breathe and smile. Once again, advice from one of my favorite monks, but it works in this context. Sometimes when we take the time to breathe and smile, it can change our outlook on life. Learn to enjoy the simple things. Instead of wanting to buy expensive things and spend money on doing things like eating out or entertainment, learn to enjoy stuff that's free. Conversations and walks with other people, spending time outdoors, watching a DVD, or playing board games, going to the beach, playing sports, running. These things don't count much, and they're awesome. And then one little last quote he's got to finish this up. God's gifts put man's best dreams to shame. And that was Elizabeth Barrett Browning. I like this one. It really resonated with me about the part about we choose to be happy or unhappy. I think I haven't really told the whole story. That's not the point right here. But when I got locked up in Panama in immigration about 5 years ago, that's when I really got this message. That's when I was locked up in a difficult situation. It wasn't dangerous, but it was a difficult situation, very stressful. And I did. I just stayed, I told people in there while I was in there, I'm happy because I have no choice. I can't choose not to be here, but I can choose my state of mind. But anyhow, hope you enjoyed that one today. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up and we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.